Mary thought that being childless was the worst thing that could happen to her until she was trapped in the future because of one mistake. Mary woke up early morning and dressed up to go see the doctor. She couldn't believe what the baby she found in the basket told her about her future. She hopes it is not true because she really wanted to become a mother and have her own babies. She was praying in her heart while on her way to the doctor's office. This was the first time she was leaving the guru's house, and she didn't tell the guru before leaving. When she reached the hospital, she found out that the doctors were busy, so she had to wait for a while. As she was waiting, she started thinking about all the possible reasons that could make it difficult for her to give birth. She couldn't imagine that she would be barren for the rest of her life. The door opened and the doctor entered and saw Mary seated and waiting for him. After Mary narrated the reason for coming to the hospital, the doctor asked her a lot of questions. Then the doctor sent her to go for some tests, but the test results would not be out until after 6 hours. So the doctor asked Mary to go home and come back the next day. However, Mary insisted on staying and getting the results same day. At last, the result was out. The results showed that Mary's womb was damaged by an infection that was not well treated after her last abortion. Therefore, her womb cannot hold a child. The doctor also added that Mary's condition cannot be treated. The words from the doctor sounded like death sentence to Mary. Her life had been a roller coaster of problems. When Mary heard the doctor's verdict, she couldn't cry. She just sat there and stared at the doctor. One could tell that she was not looking at anything. She was completely lost in thought. After some time, she started crying. Her life had crashed. She continued crying as she left the doctor's office. Other patients saw her, but none could console her. On her way home, tears filled her eyes and she wiped the tears from time to time with her handkerchief. Surprisingly, she saw another passenger in the bus who has an injury on his neck. The injury looks like the kind of sore that appeared on Mary's body after traveling into the future. She wondered if this person could be a time traveler like her. She is new to this time traveling and will need guidance from as many people as possible. The passenger was sitting in front of her so she couldn't see his face. When the passenger reached his bus stop, he dropped from the bus. As Mary saw him going down from the bus, she also dropped from the bus and followed him. Almost immediately, the man noticed that someone was following him, so he increased his pace. So Mary also increased her pace. There were so many people at the bus stop, so it was difficult for Mary to catch up with him. But she pushed on and continued following him. Now, Mary has the feeling that the man was really avoiding her. When the man entered a narrow street, Mary followed. Again, the man entered another narrow street, but just as she was entering the street, she saw the man talking to some terribly looking area boys. The next minute, she saw the area boys angrily rushing her. When she saw them coming towards her, she turned about and ran. But she couldn't outrun them, so they caught her. They took her to the man, and before the man could say a word, Mary raised her arm to display her own sword. Immediately the man saw the sword on her hand. He was shocked, and at once he knew that she was also a time traveler. Then he asked the area boys to release her. Mary and the man had a very long discussion, and in the end, they exchanged their phone numbers. At last, Mary found out that his name is Uche, and he is also a time traveler. So she started looking for how to go back to Guru's house in Lekki. On her way home, she began to think about her life in the past few weeks, and the thought of Toby flashed through her mind. It is now about a month since Mary left Toby's house. Toby has been missing Mary. Toby could not forget those sweet and memorable nights with Mary. Some days, he would carry Mary's clothes and sniff them to feel her smell and her presence. He is yet to remove Mary's clothes from his wardrobe because he still believes that someday Mary would come back. When Mary finally got home, She found the guru on the balcony looking so angry. He had been worried all day long as he searched for Mary. Mary is still a beautiful and lovely young woman and everyone likes her. Now, the guru sees himself as Mary's guardian and will not want any harm to befall her. When Mary reached the balcony, she apologized to the guru and lied about her whereabouts. She didn't want the guru to know the story of her life yet. The guru welcomed her home and went into his room. Mary also went into her room, relieved. Hi, whenever you are in need of help, visit www.nneservice.ng to find the best professionals and artisans to help you. You can also download the Any Service app on the Google Play Store. While sitting in her room, Mary flashed her mind through all the activities that happened throughout the day. She was glad she met Uche, who also understands her abilities. But immediately she remembered the report from the doctor, she started crying again. She cried until she slept off. Mary woke up very early in the morning and went to the kitchen to prepare something for herself. When the guru came into the kitchen, he liked the aroma of what Mary was cooking, so he stayed with her in the kitchen. The guru informed her that she would be alone in the mansion throughout the day as he would be going to visit a friend. He also told her that he would not come back until evening. When Mary finished cooking, they both had their breakfast and went to their separate rooms. As Mary entered her room, her phone started ringing. It was Uche. Uche sounded sweet over the phone. He called to check up on Mary, but Mary knew that this was not an ordinary call. She believed that Uche wanted something more intimate, just like every other man she had met. But Mary didn't want to get into any romantic relationship at this time of her life. When the call ended, Mary dropped the phone on the bed, sat on her chair and faced the mirror which she uses to travel into the future. When Mary was ready, a ray of light from the mirror sucked her into the mirror and she was taken into the future. Mary in the future saw herself in a rowdy room with so many people. Everyone in the room looked happy. The place looked like a clubhouse. Mary was very happy being there. The kind of happiness Mary felt there was such that she had never felt since she became an adult. Suddenly, she saw a familiar face. When Mary looked very closely, she recognized the face. It was Obi, the man that paid Mary 1 million naira to sleep with him alongside with his two other friends. Immediately Obi noticed Mary. He started coming towards her. When Mary saw Obi coming towards her, she remembered how Obi and his two friends tied her to a bed frame and made love to her. She couldn't stand the fear of seeing Obi's face, so she ran out of the building and Obi followed her. In order to escape from Obi, she made an attempt to leave the future and come back to the present, but it didn't work. So she found herself on a lonely road. She made a second attempt and it didn't work. Again, she found herself on another lonely road. Then she understood that every failed attempt at coming back to the present leads her to a lonely road, and she didn't know what else to do. Unknown to Mary, she has been trapped in the future and can no longer return back to the present. Actually, Mary was unable to return back from the future because while she traveled into the future, the guru left the house to visit a friend. While the guru went out to see a friend, his wife and child arrived back to Nigeria unannounced. The woman wanted to surprise the guru by coming home without informing him. But when she entered the house, she found out that the house was so dirty with cobwebs everywhere. She couldn't spend a night in this kind of dirty place. So she went online to get a professional house cleaner for the job. She visited www.nneservice.ng and found a house cleaner to do the job for her. While she was waiting for the worker she found on nneservice.ng, she decided to check out all the rooms to see if there is any other thing that needed her attention before her husband returns. As she was going round the house, she pushed the door to Mary's room and behold, the door swung open. It happened that Mary didn't lock the door since she knew that she was going to be alone in the house throughout the day. When Mrs. Jazzy, Guru's wife, opened the door, She saw Mary's body sitting like a statue on a stool. When she saw Mary, her face squeezed, and she became very angry. This must be Jazzy's new mistress, she thought. When she saw the mirror in front of Mary, Mrs. Jazzy knew that Mary had traveled into the future just like her husband used to do. So she became jealous and took away the mirror that stood in front of Mary. After the mirror was removed by Guru's wife in the present, all the effort by Mary to come back from the future and re-enter her body failed, since the mirror must be in front of her before her soul can reunite with her body. Mrs. Jazzy kept the mirror in her room. So Mary's soul kept wandering aimlessly in the lonely future without any means of her coming back, at least for now. Episode 6. Mary finally released 17 sex tapes of the men she had slept with, but she didn't know that she was about to put the whole city in big confusion.